Miss Sybil, you are 82 years old. You're an honorary Rotarian. You were the first woman Speaker of the House. I can't imagine everything that's happened in your life, and I'd like to know how you feel Rotary is helping the community.
Well, Rotary helps the community, I would say particularly in areas where there are poor people and there are a number of people without jobs, because you could still have a small job and still be poor, because depending on the type of job and your qualifications as well. I mean, particularly if it's someone who's working like a maid in a house, you know, and they just go in for 2 or 3 hours. You know, that's where perhaps if they have a large family, like children or older parents, grandparents, that Rotary can help them financially sometimes. I think that, to me, that is one of the most important parts. Then Rotary, we as Rotarians are bound to set good examples, because I don't think they would take anybody into Rotary as a member unless the person has set a good example and done something specific for Cayman.
In the years that you've been an honorary Rotarian, is there any instances that stick out in your mind the most?
Well, I really couldn't say that there's anything specific, because I'm going to acknowledge at my age a lot of things I don't remember, you know, but I know that from my time in Rotary, and I still, you know, follow some of the things that go on, that they really do help a lot of people. They do help, and that's important, because there are many people in some of the districts that are very poor, and perhaps there's a member of the Legislative Assembly who finds that out and could say it to Rotary. I mean, government will help them as well, but in some cases, if there are people who have children, and you know, if you have 3 or 4 children and you haven't got a job, and those children have to go to school, because it's compulsory for them to go to school to get a good education, otherwise the future of Cayman is not going to be good. And this is one of the areas in which I think Rotary can help, and they have been helping, I know that.
From your vast experience and the work that you've done with the community, do you have any advice for the generation that's up and coming now?
Well, I think the important thing is, and I've learned this as a parent too, is that if you're married, and I mean there are a lot of people who have children and not married, and you brought a child into the world, it is your bounden duty to see that they're well taken care of, you know. Because I have an example, and I wouldn't say it's such a good example, but I'll tell you that when my husband and I got married, and I had 2 boys 18 months apart, and we were living with my aunt. My aunt, Bertha, was the first postmistress in South Sound, and the post office was in her house. Okay, so, and there were Americans who worked or came out on holiday. They had their own homes, and they would go fishing like about 5 o'clock in the morning. And they had letters to post, and they made arrangements with her that at 5 o'clock that morning they would drop the mail off to her. And when they came back at 8 o'clock that night, she would have posted the letters for them, and they paid her for what she had done and received their mail. So things like that stand out in my mind, which I mean couldn't be done today, you know. And then I had another aunt who, she was a nurse, and we didn't have Walker's Road in those days, and she had to ride around the waterfront on her bicycle with a flashlight in her hand to go to work sometimes, and to come back if there was an operation. She had to stay to the operation. And there have been certain changes, you know, that doesn't happen today. You know, you can get a taxi or something and get there quickly.
So is your advice to the new generation to stay the course?
I think they should. I think young people, when they go to school, and parents have that is part of their responsibility to help their children wherever they can with their homework and all of that. and then help their children to understand that they have a part to play in the community. And it all depends on the younger generation, because we're the older ones. We've laid the path for them, and they should follow thereafter, you know. Because did I tell you about my son Chris? My son Chris was one of the chief pilots of Cayman Airways. He was a captain for 25 years. And he came down here to a function one night, and he met a girl from Denmark. She had been going up into Washington installing computers. And later they got married. So people asked him, where did you find her? He said, you have to ask her why she came to Cayman and found me. So he's still up there in Leesburg, Virginia. They have 2 teenage daughters. And his wife works with Orbital Sciences. And she's going down to Peru in a couple of weeks' time to send off a new satellite from that area. And a lot of people from America are going down there to see it. And Chris stays at home. He does all the cooking now, the gardening, and he counts his vegetables, and he sees that the girls go to school. Not many people would do that, you know. No, not many people. So I'm very proud of him. And then, of course, my son Gordon owns Unit Construction. And I'm living in Chris's house, because after my husband died, I moved out from East End. So I'm in Chris's house. And my house up there is rented to my sister-in-law's son. I still hope he's paying me the rent on it. And then Gordon McLaughlin owns Unit Construction, you know, so he's right next door to me as well. So keep in close contact, which is very important, you know. I think the important thing in life with families, if you families depend on each other, and if you're a good parent or a good grandmother or something, you know, keeps the people close together. Because why should families quarrel? You know, unless it's really something pretty drastic. Mm-hmm. You know, they should all be peace, love, and everything in it.
Thank you, Miss Sybil.
Okay. Mm-hmm.